Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be checking out the brand new fighting game from NetherRealm Studios, Mortal Kombat 1. Now before we get into the review and breakdown itself, I want to give a huge thank you to WB Games for providing me with an early access copy of Mortal Kombat 1, as well as for sending me the Collector's Edition, which is fantastic. I'm really appreciative of everything WB Games has done for me lately and for the opportunity to make this video for you guys so you can check out Mortal Kombat 1 in all its glory and see if the game is for you. So in today's review, I'm going to touch a little bit on everything in the game. I want to pay some special attention to the single player stuff, as well as some cool things that you guys maybe have been curious about but haven't seen as much in the marketing, like how you can go about getting lots of fun customization stuff for your different characters. Now what this video is not going to be is a detailed breakdown of the gameplay mechanics. You've probably seen quite a bit of that in the marketing in the lead up already, but if you haven't, I'm sure that there's also going to be a ton of how to play MK1 videos online very soon. That's not what we're going to be doing here today, but I do want to talk a little bit about the gameplay and how it feels before we actually get into the meat of the video. So, as you can see looking at the screen, if you haven't heard previously, Mortal Kombat 1 is a little bit different from most recent Mortal Kombat games in that it is an assist-based game. So we have cameo characters. You can see on the screen right here, Sindel has Frost as a cameo, Reptile has Cyrax as a cameo. So you don't just have your primary character that you play with in a one-on-one setting, you also have an assist character who can come out and do a few distinct special moves that will help you to do things like build combos, break up your opponent's combos, all sorts of fun stuff. So it's a very different kind of feel from recent Mortal Kombat games, but the gameplay itself is incredibly fun. It also allows them to deal with a lot of the issues that people have had in some of the most recent Mortal Kombat games, and that's one other thing I want to quickly talk about. So, one of the things that people maybe were not huge fans of in Mortal Kombat X and 11 was the variation system. The variation systems were designed, basically, to make there be a lot more variety of options in what people can do in their gameplay styles. But what ended up happening is a ton of people really just used the same variations over and over, so there really was even less variation in the competitive gameplay than you would find in, say, MK9 or past Mortal Kombat games, so it kind of backfired a little bit. On top of that, people were not really pleased with feeling as though characters were divided up, so Sub-Zero, for instance, might only have his ice clone in one particular variation. Kitana might only have her square wave or her booty bump in one variation, so just to give an idea, the characters didn't feel as complete. The cameo system provides us a way to get around that because now your main characters can have all their moves in one go, but you also will have a ton of variety because gameplay will change hugely depending on which character you use. Alright, so having gotten to touch on that, that's one of the reasons that I find the gameplay to be so fun and interesting in Mortal Kombat 1, and now let's get into the meat of the review and the breakdown itself. So first things first, how easy is it to actually open up Mortal Kombat 1 and figure out what it is you want to do and learn how to play the game? Well, NRS games have always been very good at setting up simple interfaces that let you know exactly where everything you want is, and Mortal Kombat 1 is no exception. The menus are very clear, they're easy to navigate, so you will have no difficulty with that. In addition, there are a ton of accessibility options. This is not my area of expertise, so I'm going to leave this to individuals who are going to be doing really specific reviews that cover the accessibility in more detail. I will just say that to me, it looks as though the options are beyond sufficient, that they have a lot of different things in place depending on your particular needs, especially dealing with audio and visual support. Okay, so the accessibility options seem quite strong. Now, as always, Mortal Kombat 1 does have an extensive tutorial system. NRS games, again, have always done a good job of breaking down exactly how you play the game. It has very basic stuff for newcomers, so you can see on the screen there's things like how to do a combo attack. Alright, so breaking down the very basic things to get you going, but then in addition to that, there is more complicated stuff and things that are more specific to Mortal Kombat 1 itself. So you'll have a chance to practice things like juggle combos, but you'll also have the opportunity to learn how to incorporate not just your special moves into combos, but your cameos. So the tutorial itself will break down basic gameplay for your main character, but then we'll also break down how you use the cameos. So there's a discussion of the different types of cameo assists that you have, and then there also is breakdowns of how to specifically incorporate those assists into combos that use normals, into combos that use special moves. So it's very helpful, especially if you're someone who's never played an assist type game before, in breaking down very clearly what exactly you're gonna do. So if you've never played an assist game prior to this, definitely make sure that you play the tutorial before you go further into the game. It will help you a lot. Okay, so you see here on screen we have cameo, summon, cancel. It's gonna tell you the difference between that and, you know, if you were just canceling something in a typical one-on-one game, and then give you an opportunity to practice it. So again, I really appreciate this tutorial. I highly recommend you guys check it out before you actually get into playing. I know, trust me, there's an urge to just jump in and go for it just for fun for yourself and not to go through the tutorial, but this is extremely helpful, especially if you've never had any experience with an assist type game before. One thing that's new to Mortal Kombat games here, or at least new to more recent Mortal Kombat games, is the addition of character trials. Now, this is something you see a lot in games like Street Fighter, King of Fighters, and I was really excited to see this at first when I opened up the tutorial section. One thing I was a little bit disappointed about, you can see here, they don't have the same number for every character. So Ashura only had one character combo trial, whereas Li Mei here has 6. And you'll see this throughout the course of the whole roster. Some only have 1, some have 6. So I'm not sure if that's something they might change in the future, but it definitely makes it easier to learn some characters' combos than others. And I found that to be kind of an odd choice. I'm not really sure exactly why they did that. So Ashura just had one very simple one, and then Li Mei here has ones that increase in complexity, including ones that end up utilizing cameos. So I found Li Mei's to be very helpful in giving me a sense of how to get going with her gameplay, but Ashura's less so, if that makes sense. Another thing that I was kind of missing that we had in Mortal Kombat 11 is just a breakdown of the character gameplay beyond combo trials. If you recall from Mortal Kombat 11, they had little character tutorials that talked about specific special moves and some of the basic ideas of how you want to play that character. They don't have that in this game, and I did miss it. You also did see Street Fighter 6 incorporating some of that, and I do think that would have been a little bit more useful, but overall the tutorial is quite strong. Training mode. As always, again with NRS games, training mode has a lot of really great features, so you can see here on screen the basic layout of training mode. But again, there are a couple of things that I was kind of disappointed about in training mode in Mortal Kombat 1. just based in comparison to what I've seen in previous NRS games. Now, I do want to just be clear. The majority of what I see in training mode, I'm a huge fan of, but there were a couple things that kind of, I think, could have been slightly better. One is here, for example, if you're looking at the special moves in the advanced view, these are Tanya's special moves. She has some moves, like her Seeking Guidance and Divine Protection, that are not really clear exactly what you're doing with them. Alright, and you can see over on the side, you have your frame data and everything for your specific moves. And at the bottom, under notes, there will be kind of a brief description of exactly what's happening, but it's very vague, and some of the moves actually don't have any description at all. If you compare that to, again, games like Street Fighter 6, Guilty Gear Strive, where they have example videos and clips of each move and a detailed discussion of what exactly you should use it for, it seems a little bit lacking. So that's something I definitely think could be improved. And one other small thing, they don't give you the option to star moves and put them on the screen while you're practicing, which I hugely miss from Mortal Kombat 11. That's very helpful to people, especially like me, who can't really remember stuff right away. But overall, the training mode, again, excellent, and of course you can train with another person, so that's a wonderful addition, something I always love to have. Now, with those small critiques of the training mode out of the way, let's move on to the really fun stuff, the single player content. Now, NRS games, and indeed Mortal Kombat games in general, have always been known to have really rich single-player content. So there's a lot for people to do, even if you don't necessarily like playing online or against other people. And Mortal Kombat 1 is no exception to this at all. In fact, it expands the single-player options beyond anything they've done previously. But first, here we do have the classics, the arcade towers, arcade ladders, you could say, in most fighting games, but we have towers here in Mortal Kombat. Here's an example of the Melina Tower. They do have the different levels, as they usually do. This is the most basic, the easiest, the novice level, but they get increasingly long and challenging. You also have endless towers, survivor towers, so lots of different options here. And even if you decide to go with the lowest level, as I've done just for the purposes of this video, you do end up fighting the boss or bosses at the end. So here we do have Melina taking on Shang Tsung with Quan Chi as a cameo. Okay, so you will still get the benefit of finishing an arcade ladder or tower, even if you decide to go with the easiest version. But if you want to challenge yourself, definitely go higher. One of the cool things, as always, each individual character has their own story ending, but one of the things I really like about this is they actually are canon this time around. Often arcade ladder endings to stories are not canon in Mortal Kombat games, but this time they are, so check those out if you're interested in seeing what your favorite characters end up doing. We also have the Cinematic Story Mode, which again is a staple of NRS games and Mortal Kombat games, and Mortal Kombat 1 is no exception. I don't want to give away any spoilers because this story mode is wild, but suffice it to say that there's a lot of unique options, and at certain points near the end of the story mode, again without giving away any spoilers, you can actually choose from the whole roster of who you want to play in order to wrap up the story mode itself. So again, I'm going with Melina here. And another really cool and interesting feature that you'll find in this story mode is at some points you'll be playing against characters that are not exactly what you'd expect. So there's some characters that are gender swaps, so we have a gender swap reptile here that you play against, and there's also some interesting mashup characters. So you saw a Shao/Kitana matchup that I was playing just previous to this, and it leaves me wondering if there's a possibility that we might get a created character in the future in a Mortal Kombat game, going back to the old Armageddon style. But again, I don't want to give away anything, any spoilers about story mode, but it is really exciting, really cool, Probably the best one that I have seen since Mortal Kombat 9 in a Mortal Kombat game, so I love it. Hope you guys do too. Definitely check that out. Usually in NRS games, the cinematic story mode is the primary single-player experience. Not so with Mortal Kombat 1. Instead, we have a brand new mode, and that is Invasions. Now, I do already have a video breaking down Invasion mode and exactly all the different things that you can do in it and what it serves for, so I'm going to link that here, and I'm not going to go over all of those details again, but we'll just suffice it to say that it combines elements of an RPG and previous Mortal Kombat modes like character towers, like the Crypt, like Conquest, into a whole new single-player experience that is designed to have seasons with brand new little story mode elements added in. So there's lots of stuff that you'll be able to do throughout the lifetime of the game, and it gives you an opportunity to acquire new costumes, new skin, new gears, brutalities, all sorts of fun stuff, again, that you'd usually get in like the Crypt. I just want to show off a little bit more footage and talk a little bit about some of the things I've seen in Invasions mode now that I'm doing my second playthrough of it. So some things that I didn't get to see the first time around. So here's an example, Secret Fight. Now, I didn't get any secret fights my first time playing Invasions, but they will pop up regularly as you're moving throughout the different platforms or worlds in Invasions, or realms, whatever you'd like to call them. So again, that's a huge Easter egg touchback to classic Mortal Kombat games, and you'll see tons of that throughout all of Invasions. So secret fights, just one of many things that you will have that's super fun. Again, this also gives you the option to switch characters throughout the course while you're playing, so I switched there from Melina to Sindel and now to Tanya, and this lets you practice and level up your different characters in a fun way, instead of just maybe going to training mode or playing towers to do it. You can see here also little portals sometimes will pop up to mysterious realms that you go through, where you can sometimes find cool stuff, cool rewards. So I got a Kung Lao skin there and some currency. And this feels very reminiscent of the Crypt when you're going around opening chests, but with a much more fun element to it, at least in my opinion. And I love that Tanya skin. So very cool, very fun stuff going on in Invasions mode. Here's a little bit more, something else that I didn't get to experience my first time around playing Invasions. We have a little survive experience challenge here. Again, just little fun stuff like you've seen in previous Mortal Kombat games. So lots of little different things that you can do inside Invasions mode besides just collecting gear like in the Crypt, or besides just fights. And as previously mentioned, there are different seasons with their own different stories and that have special unique gear. And in those seasons, you will have a big final boss, but you will also have little mini bosses. And here is one example of them, this Assassin Kitana. Now, this is currently where I'm stuck in Invasions because these mini bosses apparently can be quite challenging. So Assassin Kitana here, you end up having to beat her twice. She gets progressively harder, and then the third time around you have to go through that survive minigame while you have things draining your life and you can't block, and then you ultimately have to end up fighting her one more time, a third time, with crazy armor after your life has already been hugely depleted. So challenging bosses will also be a part of this experience, and you have to go through and try to figure out how to beat them. But the outcome, the positive, is you get lots of cool, unique stuff, and these will change, again, depending on the seasons, depending on the quote-unquote Invasions boss. This first season's is Scorpions, but we've seen some previews, as you can see here, of some future fun bosses to come, and I'm left really excited for the future of this mode. For our online modes, we have ranked casual and private matches, we have King of the Hill returning, and yes, drumroll please, the return of Combat League from Mortal Kombat 11. Alright, and you can see it's set up in a very similar fashion where you move throughout ranks progressively and can acquire specific gear, skins, backgrounds, and the like cool stuff. It also seems that it's a little bit longer. Season of Spectre here is 51 days. Combat League seasons were usually a month. So that's an interesting change. I think possibly a good one. And the seasons align with the Invasion season. They have the same theme, they have similar items, so that's a cool thing. If you're someone that only likes single player or only likes ranked, you have options. You can participate in the seasons depending on which you prefer. Now, if you're someone that likes to acquire gear, but maybe you don't want to play Combat League, for instance, or you'd rather just spend some money, we do have the shop, which rotates items that you can purchase dragon crystals with real money to buy things. And we also do have an option to buy some of the seasonal items in the shop. Okay, but if you want to get the Season of Spectre items, you do need to use in-game currency. Now the good news is it seems that you can get the in-game currency from Invasions or from Combat League, so you have some options. If you're someone that only likes single player, you don't have to play Combat League. If you're someone that only likes ranked online, you don't have to play Invasions, and you'll still get options for cool gear and skins that change every few weeks. And there's some really cool ones in here you can see. I'm not a huge Scorpion fan most of the time, but look at those skins. Look at that. That's sick. That's really sick. So I'm really excited to see what the future brings with this. So to wrap this up here, my feeling is that Mortal Kombat 1 is a beautiful love letter to Mortal Kombat fans. It is not only everything that you could ask for in a fighting game, but everything you could ask for in a AAA game in general, with an insane amount of content and only more to come in the future. I'm incredibly excited to start playing this game and for everyone in the community to get their hands on it. While I did have a couple of things that I think could have been improved upon, things like the character trials and a little bit with the training mode, overall I am incredibly impressed by the gameplay with the cameo systems, by the roster, which includes returning favorites that we haven't seen in a long time, to the customization, which includes a variety of really unique and beautiful skins, less gear, so less of a grind to get it than you have had in some previous NRS games, but still enough to make characters have a unique feel. Rich single player mode, including one of the best story modes that I've seen from them, and Invasions, which I could literally talk about. It's got so much going on, I could talk about it for hours, and there will be tons of videos just on that alone. The return of Combat League, but it seems to be done in a way where people who were upset in the past because they missed out on Combat League skins and gear now also have an offline single player mode where they have an option to get that gear through Invasions. Really, everything about this game is beautiful, from the music to the stages, and it's clear a ton of love was put into every element of this. If you are a Mortal Kombat fan or just a fan of really good games, whether fighting games or not, I highly recommend checking out Mortal Kombat 1. And again, huge thank you to Warner Brothers for providing me with this review copy and giving me the chance to make this video for you guys. I hope you go out and get Mortal Kombat 1 and play, because it is amazing. It's so fun, and I can't wait for the future of this game.